I am, as Etchi said, of horror here in my Conjuring Corner, where I usually say where I tell tales of folklore, horror, and I do makeup and art that pertains to those stories. I haven't done that in a while. I've been doing some live streams, and tonight is a special live stream because I've titled it Collazo Primos, Cousin Perspectives of Pan's Labyrinth. And I have my cousin Yael with me to have this awesome discussion. So,
Hello. Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about this topic.
yeah, me too, me too. I mean, you and I, we've got a lot in common other than being cousins. Like we both have a love for horror and fantasy, and we love talking about the things that we like watching.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And is it and I think this is a movie that we kind of hold close to our hearts.
I definitely agree. I've always loved like fantasy type um, movies. I've always like as a kid I've seen it from my mom, so
Mhm.
I just love fantasy, whimsical type movies. It always amazes me.
Right. Yeah. I think that's something that
It was just like amazing. I thought it was something I've never seen. I was young, so I'm like, oh, this is something completely new to me. I new experience, and so it's all clear in my head. Just remember how it was.
yeah.
um, what else?
Uh,
Definitely, it was my very first Guillermo del Toro movie, very first one, and so that stuck with me. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece.
it really is. And it's funny you say that's the first one for you because it was the first one for me. And it was I don't know, I didn't put this in the questions to give you, but before I continue asking questions, there's a certain pride that you and I have in common knowing about Guillermo del Toro. Like
Hmm.
he's from Guadalajara, like he's from Jalisco, and that has a sense of pride for not just me, but for you too, because that's where our family is from.
Yeah, I definitely like yeah, definitely pride. I'm like when I see him on the news, like his achievements, like when he got the Hollywood star, I'm like that's like a big win for us. I'm like I like that. It's like true
It is. Like it's
representation.
yes, exactly. There's a bit of representation there that makes us have a certain feeling, and it's special.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, to see storytellers telling their tales, you know, hey, and like, hey, that's where our parents are from. That's the tequila state. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yep, it's like he grew up basically where our family grew up, and like to see like I almost kind of like a relative kind of. Not saying you like almost kind of like it's like
Almost.
crazy. Like our family grew up there, so it's like his relatives. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Like what he had in common with, our family is, trying to make something of himself. Um, but his is on a different scale, obviously. But they found work and other means eventually leading to another place, another ground, and right now we're here in the United States because of our roots
Hmm.
here. And he didn't do that so much as a child, I don't think, but in his adulthood he really persevered. And I think that's just something that, what we have in common, Mexican American or Mexican roots in general. There's a lot of perseverance.
Definitely.
But back to the movie though, I'm going to talk a little bit about before if anyone hasn't watched this film before that's watching the live now, I have a little bit of a trigger warning because I'm going to talk about a little bit of the summary of this movie. Um, because it contains the subject pertaining to war. It takes time during the terror era at the end of the Spanish Civil War. And at some point, there was a character who was 11 years old named Ophelia, and she was sent along with her pregnant mother to live with her stepfather, who was a war captain. His name was Captain Vidal, and he was a very nasty wartime and borderline abusive, ruthless. He was just a nasty character, and she ends up in an enchanted by a fairy who leads her to another fairy who is a faun, and the faun ends up telling her that she is a princess reincarnated as human, and tries to give her three tasks to go back to her royalty. And those three tasks was to find a key, steal a knife, and to um, unalive innocent blood. So, but those three tasks, spoiler alert, is she finds the key from a toad, and the toad eats three stones. That's one crazy scene. The second task is Ophelia, where she has been led by these fairies to a room where she meets one of the monsters, who is the Pale Man. And she ends up with the key that is given from the fairies to try to open and get the knife. She retrieves the knife, but she ends up awakening that Pale Man, and she has a interesting encounter with that monster. Task 3, to spill the the to unalive the innocent, is the faun ends up trying to tell her that she needs to unalive her baby brother in order to open the portal to the underworld, where she can again be her princess in her princess life, incarnate in that. So I in a commentary before another commentary before I go back to Yael is, I feel like that this was a, this character's escape. Like it was a mental escape from her reality. Some people can take that when they watch that film. Don't you think so? Or do you have a different perspective?
I definitely agree with you. Because I know, as we've discussed, she was living a very rough life. Because I think, from what I remember from the movie, it was a long time ago, so my memory isn't that
That's
coherent.
okay.
Um, I do remember the stepfather being kind of a jerk, like a
Yeah.
really big. Um, I remember him doing some really despicable things to people and to her, and it was
Yes.
like, yeah. And I know her mom. I she was there for her, but she would always kind of, I guess, push her away, kind of like always go with the stepfathers. Like, I think, but she cared about her daughter, but she wouldn't do
Yeah,
much.
there was only so much that she could do because she was pregnant, and they kept her in her room separated because she was kind of sick too.
Yeah,
So they they definitely kept her and her mother separate, and the girl, she kind of had to create her own escape, her own world, it seemed like, or she was led to this other world. It
yeah,
kind of made the audience choose, like, what is she or is she not seeing this within her reality. uh,
definitely. I agree with you on that.
yeah. So which parts of this movie stands out to you the most? Like, do is there a scene or something that just went wow for you?
Um, well, all of it was pretty whimsical. Once, I think she saw the fawn and
Mhm.
tried to do the tasks. The one thing that really stood out to me when I was a kid, I think definitely had to be like the infamous pill man. That was just like it creeped me out as a kid, honestly, because I've never seen anything like that. It was creepy. I was just like creeped. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It was just weird. It was just something so different for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, for me, like for the part that stood out to me was definitely the pale man. I mean, yes, the fawn. He was beautiful. That was such a soft introduction to him. Was seeing how he's kind of like in a corner, the fairy lands on him, and then he kind of turns around, and you get that reveal of his makeup and his magical. I mean, I wore this shirt on purpose
Yeah,
today. The subject, so I'm wearing the fawn here. But then, like, that scene that you're talking about is the night, like, the introduction of the pale man is where she has to do that task, is steal that knife, and
yeah,
she goes there, and you see all this food, and it's like, you see this beautiful food, and it looks so yummy, and then he's there, with his head, like, up, or I think it was up, I'm not sure, and he has his hands on that table, and you see those eyes right there, and, like, I didn't know if he was gonna just, get out, because I kinda held my breath. I remember watching it for the first time, and I was sitting in theater with some friends. I'm like, "Oh my god, what's gonna happen?" So, yeah, but, it kinda took a moment. I thought when she was, with the key and she was gonna get the knife, I was, like, thinking, "She's gonna have to hurry up because he's gonna get up and get her."
yeah,
But that's not what happened. What happened was she started eating food. She was distracted, and then that's when his hands kinda, like, do that thing that they
yeah,
do, and then pick up his eyeballs, and he goes after her, and
yeah,
that that's chilling. That scene is embedded in my brain forever
yeah.
too.
It was definitely disturbing for me, as especially because
You were little.
I was a child, so that was the one scene that's probably never gonna leave my brain. Like as I get older, I'm probably not gonna forget that ever. It was just
Yeah.
disturbing, but it was
So
so
what
cool.
was it like watching it a second time, knowing you saw that?
I know when I watched it again the second time, I was like, well, first I was still disturbed. I'm like
Yeah.
disturbing, but I was just fascinated because like Guillermo del Toro really did all of this. Like
Yeah.
he just like how in the world did he just like draw this all up and then make it like real? Like how? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a creative person at all, so I'm not good at drawing or like ideas like that. But for him to just come up with something original, uh, it's just like how? How? Mm,
No, I wouldn't say you're not creative. You are creative. There's different forms of being creative, and I think you are in the way that you make people feel. You create a comfort. You create, because when I see you, when I'm with you, I'm like, there's my cousin. I'm like, you create a feeling for other people to have that sense of joy and love. And there's so many other things about you. I wouldn't say you're not. There are some things about you that, but I'm biased too because I love you. So,
yeah,
but I wouldn't knock yourself by saying you're not creative. You're very thoughtful, and you think of things a certain way. You're very like-minded and open-minded. So, um, and I think that's the way for creativity, and having. We're creating this now as we speak. We're having an open dialogue about how we feel about this subject. So you are creating.
well, I appreciate it very much.
Of course, of course. So, but what other than like a part that stood out to you other than that one scene? Is there a scene that is favorite to you, like a favorite part or favorite scene that you remember that you like the most?
I don't want to spoil it, but definitely the ending. The ending was very. I think it it hit me because she. I don't remember too clearly about this, but I know she got back to the fawn and with basically everyone else at the other world, and it was just all like a big conclusion. I think she felt more at ease with the fawn because well now she's like a princess now. She's
Yeah.
respected like but she was always respected, but she's just more everything's more comforting now. No longer
Yeah.
stressful, no longer the evil of like her stepfather, and she's just. But I think I remember the color of the screen also changing to just really bright, no longer dark and icky, and just different mood basically. So
Yeah. Yeah, what you're describing is the end of the film, and it's okay to spoil it because, I mean, I I said spoiler alert earlier, and it's perfectly fine. Yeah, that scene is definitely like it has mixed emotions. It's like you're happy to see her in that realm again, being the princess, and then everyone's applauding her, like, welcoming her home, but also what it took for her to escape and be there was
yeah,
the demise that she met with Captain Vidal, her stepfather, because
yeah,
he's the one that, you know,
yeah,
unal- yeah.
yeah. Very somber, but also like you see from her perspective, it's very cheery. I think if I remember correctly, I'm not sure too much, but I
Mhm.
think like in the real world, I think her mom was just absolutely devastated, which
Mhm.
understandably so. But it was just yeah. Did you get two perspectives? You get
Yeah, yeah. I think her mother, she was going through the childbirth, and they leave you under the impression that she didn't make it. And because I remember Captain Vidal said to save the child, save the baby.
oh right, right.
It's okay. It's okay. Look, I mean, I
Yeah,
know you love this movie, and I do too. But sometimes I'm like, wait, what really happened?
and it's
Ki-
been a while since I've seen it, so yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Um, because I didn't watch it fresh this time either.
Mhm.
But it's okay. But then, it kind of does. I don't blame you for looking at it that way because, when they say things like, if something happens and save the baby, save the child, I'm like, what do you mean if?
Yeah,
Um, so I don't remember. Maybe someone in the chat has seen it. I don't know if you guys have or if you remember what happened to the mother. If you do have a memory and you do want to say something, feel free to drop a line in the comments in the chat. But from Yael's memory and from mine, it's just it's like it kind of took away from what happened to her mother a little bit and focus more on Ophelia.
yeah,
So, because this is Ophelia's story, of her journey and um in this escape. Let me see view message. Oh, I don't know who that was, but anyway,
yeah,
I think like some people just kind of come on and then they say like they're trolls and stuff. But um anyway, let me see if I can do something here real quick. Okay. Some people are like so strange. They say the strangest things and try to troll and
yeah,
do weird things on these channels. I think they do it intentionally to try to like get your channel in trouble sometimes.
yeah,
But yeah. Hang on just a moment. So anyway, what was I gonna say? After that, let's see. Do you have favorite parts? Which creature or monster do you like the most from this film?
Hmm.
Like, do
Lots
you
of
think?
features. I do like the fawn. I think the fawn is like very very beautiful. I know beauty can come in many different forms, you know, but I like the fawn a lot. I think it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Also the fairies too. I thought they were all pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
That's, that's pretty cool that you mentioned the fairies, because like I remember they didn't look like how most fairies are depicted. Um Fairies were more like they didn't have, glitter and long hair and looked like they looked like they were insects almost. Like they had like I don't know how to explain it. Like they were different color, like they weren't like vibrant colors, but they were like nature, earthy colors, you know? So I thought they
that
were neat.
um, excuse me, my mom is making salsa and it's very how do you say it? It's hitting my throat, so it's kind of hard to talk. But
Okay?
yeah, um, yeah, I remember how they were not
Mhm.
ordinary type of looking fairies. They were very you're right, insecty. They were different. You wouldn't like it was something you wouldn't probably see from like Disney. They were just definitely more whimsical.
Yeah, they had a different look. So my friend Rob Salinas, who says hello to you both watching with my daughter. Hello, Rob, and to your daughter. And my friend Janie says hello, Janie. Yeah,
Hello.
we've been talking about what we love and what we can remember from Pan's Labyrinth. We didn't take the time to rewatch it, to refresh on it, but we're just talking about the things that we love and remember from it at this point. But yeah, no, I feel the same way. The fun, I feel like I think what I also love is like the fawn also, and for the same reason that we like the fairies is because there's a nature look to it. Because I remember the feet, like the hooves and everything, kind of looked like it was like roots,
Definitely,
like tree, like it had a tree look to him.
definitely. I remember that too. It was just also interesting. I just loved all of it.
Yeah, definitely,
Excuse
and
me. It's just
the salsa.
yeah, it's really just hitting that whole face. It's just yeah,
I'm sorry. I don't. Well, I'm not gonna keep you too much longer since you're dealing with that.
it's all good. It's all, I think they stopped. So hopefully it all goes away soon in my face. But yeah, it's
Oh,
okay.
this all strong. Yeah, I'm sorry. Um, but what kind of emotions does this movie make you feel?
um,
Like now versus what you felt then?
well, at first it was I felt a lot of like fear at
Mhm.
first, and then comfort because mostly because it's just like the stepfather. The stepfather is just a big jerk. And Ophelia having to just have to endure all that and then do these like tasks that are also pretty scary if you think about it because she sees the pale man. Like I would be just scared. I wouldn't, if I were to see something like that, I'd probably be horrified. Um, what else? To get the key from that frog, I remember it being quite icky.
Yeah.
I remember a part where she had to get dirty to get that key, and I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do that.
Oh, I
Yeah,
remember.
I just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I mean the other like the ending, yeah, it was just like awful. So I remember
Hmm.
being fearful of all of that, and also there was a part where I believe the stepfather kills, I think the town's doctor, I think. Like
Yeah.
it just yeah, full on. Like, it just felt like a full on dictator next.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it was all just scary to me. But as I watch it now, I'm more. desensitized by that. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
that's scary. Some parts are still creepy to me, but they're good creepy. I enjoy them, and I feel more comforting. But also, some parts are still sad to me, like the ending. Um, but yeah, just lots of emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, same here, because like when I first watched it, I thought it was, oh wow, the emotion that I felt, it was sort of mixed. I felt like, man, this is sort of a bittersweet feeling. Like you feel sad
Hmm.
because what's going on in her reality and being a child during a war, living in this environment with a guy who's a stepfather that's not a good person, and
Yeah.
then but you feel like enchanted by the other realm that she's in. So I
Hmm.
felt, it was sad, but also there was enchantments and there was hope, a sense of hope. But today, I feel like this film has a different set of emotions for me because there's a lot going on in this world, and there's a lot of children that wish for an escape, and a
Def-
lot of people are wishing for an escape, like Ophelia.
Definitely, I completely agree with you. Especially during now, it's just I wish to not get too political, but it's a scary world right now. It's very
Yeah,
scary with just about everything. So
yeah,
yeah, I
definitely.
feel some people are afraid of certain things that's going on right now, and I understand them. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
scary.
definitely, definitely. It's a different type of scary. Um, how meaningful is this movie to you? Like, why is it something that you would consider a favorite?
Uh, well, definitely because it was probably like the most whimsical,
Mhm.
interesting, beautiful movie I think I've ever seen with my mom at that time. Because like I was a kid, and kids always watch like SpongeBob
Yeah,
or you know Blue's Clues, but I watched that with my mom, and it was just so interesting, and I just caught my eye. Um, I just I just love it. I love it. I still love it to this day. Um, it's just there's so much to say about that movie. I could just talk about it for hours. I love it. I know my mom loves it too. So yeah.
yeah. I think a lot of people. Well, I don't know about a lot, but you're my dad and I feel the same as you and your mom. Like it's definitely whimsical. It's definitely beautiful. It's something we've never seen before. I mean, it's a different type of horror, a different type of fantasy. It's not like you say, we grew up watching like cartoons and stuff. Like I'm like watching SpongeBob or whatever, and
Yeah.
but but like that's when you're. But then when you kind of step out of that and you see a different kind of fantasy, and it shows a little bit of reality, it's I think it's meaningful, especially when you watch it with a family member who has a different perspective, like
Def-
your mother, my dad, because we were still like you were a kid and I was still like pretty young at the time. Like
mhm.
I was it was a different perspective for me, and then like you're watching it with your parent, and so of course they're gonna have like a wiser perspective.
Definitely. My mom also just loves fantasy type
Hmm.
movies. I know there was one movie that she really loved to see. It was from Guillermo del Toro. It
Hmm.
came out in 2017. I forgot what the movie is called. I, I might butcher it, but I think it's called like The Shape of Water or something like that.
Oh, I love when the oh yeah, The Shape of Water. Yep.
I remember watching that with my mom too, and I also enjoyed it thoroughly. There were
Mhm.
some parts I was like a little. Mm, I don't. It was a good movie. I'm not, just praising the
Yeah,
movie, but like some parts I was like, oh, okay. But
yeah,
yeah, it,
yeah.
it,
I remember I've seen that movie on a few occasions myself. It's a different movie. It's a different time. Like it as far as Guillermo del Toro has this thing where he likes to do period pieces, which is like you do films of a different time in a different time period.
def-
Like this Pans Labyrinth, he set during like post Spanish Civil War. But
mhm.
with this one, The Shape of Water, um, I think that's like that was supposed to be in the 50s or something.
Yeah, I think I was remembering it like somewhere. It's giving me like 40s, 50s, like
Hmm.
60s vibes.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah,
that era. But I just remember it was really interesting with seeing. I think the main character was also, I believe, a female. I haven't seen it, so
yeah,
so
it is.
and I know she had to like deal with like like scientist guys, I think too.
Hmm.
And she would just encounter like that fish like monster
The Gil,
guy.
not the Gilman. Why should I call him the Gilman? I'm thinking of Creature from.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know about that. Yeah. Um, we could also probably talk about Pinocchio, that movie. That movie that Guillermo made, his adaptation. I I I, I loved it. I actually cried. Um, it was something that's more real. Um, less. I don't want to say less child friendly, but it's more like you get the realness of it. Because I know when you think of Pinocchio, you think of like Disney's Pinocchio, and it's like all childhood friendly. Some issues here and there, but nothing quite serious. But Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, I got more of a real feeling, more seriousness from it, more emotions. It definitely hit harder too. Um, Definitely, and it just really pulls the emotions. He's really good with that. He's really good with emotion, like things dealing with emotions. Like I just love it. It's pretty good. It's not when you watch a movie from him, you're never gonna be like disappointed. It's never boring. It's always something is always there that's gonna catch your mind, and it's really good. Um,
Definitely.
I also remember watching Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. That
That one was cool.
I love that one. The monsters in that movie definitely creeped me out. I remember watching it in theaters with my brother. That was incredibly creepy. I loved it.
Yeah, it is. Did you ever read those books?
I haven't. I've actually because I saw the movie, I wanted to read the books, especially because of seeing of all those monsters. It's like I want to see like all of this. They're all just cool. It's
Well,
just
I'll tell you what, though, next time I see you, I'll let you borrow some of them because there's only 3 books. I'll let you next time I see you, I'll give them to you to read.
I appreciate it.
They're good. Yeah, and, but with this movie, Pan's Labyrinth, I was talking about scary movies that Guillermo del Toro did. But what about this one, Pan's Labyrinth?
If you were to ask me if I were like 4 or 5 at that age, I'd say that'd be a pretty. If I were 4 or 5, it'd be pretty pretty scary. Like at least like the 8 scary. But now, if you were to ask me now, I'd say I'd give it probably like a 5 or 4 right now.
There. I I definitely would give it a 5. I would think it's pretty scary, like mildly, like down the middle, because there's, like I said, there's a lot of relevance to it
Hmm.
today as far as things that keep happening to people and kids and not feeling safe.
Yeah.
And very quickly, I do want to insert some comparison about Ophelia. She was 11 years old as a character. But there was one girl that was 11 years old recently. You've heard the story of Jocelyn Garanza, and she ended up unaliving herself because she didn't feel safe, or because she was scared and tormented because of her family's immigration status. I know it's not the same as being around, a war time per se, but she was fighting her own war, like she
Yeah.
was dealing with her own issues. And I mean, I definitely feel like that's a really personal thing, especially when we see when we feel a certain fear for some of our own communities.
I definitely agree with you. I just she I know, bless her soul. It
Yeah,
When I heard on the news that she would constantly be bullied because of her family's like status, it just I know it's very just draining. I know Ophelia having to live with her stepfather like just being the biggest jerk ever, her being
yeah,
separated from her mom, it just also just draining. So it just it just breaks my heart having to
yeah,
read that news. I know, as we discussed, I think yesterday, it was a
yeah,
form of escapism
yeah.
for her.
For the girl Carranza.
Hmm. And it's
Yeah,
just awful that she had to, well, unalive herself because of what other jerks were, you know,
doing at
doing.
school.
And yeah, I know for Ophelia, she didn't really, she didn't do that. Her stepfather was the one that, took her life, I believe.
Yeah,
And so I know it's not the same, but still, it's just very, it's 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 heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking for both.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's definitely, I think looking back at this movie now, it definitely made me feel a different set of emotions, because I'm like, wow, Ophelia is the same, this fictional character is the same age as other kids that are going through their own personal war or whatever, and
Yeah,
around her age, younger or older. And that's, and there's a lot that people are hoping and wishing for a certain escape.
definitely. And I don't want to get political, because like, you're talking about a very whimsical movie, but I feel like under like no circumstance you should like ever just berate someone because of their family at all. Period. Like whether they're different, whether they're the same thing, or they're just different for like where they're from. I don't really think it's any excuse at all. Period. Point blank. To just berate someone's family, harass them, threaten them with something. It's uncool. It's awful. It's childish behavior, and honestly, it's just like it's. I do. I can't say things, but yeah, it's awful.
It's okay. I know what you mean and I know what you feel, and we can talk about those things away from here, but that's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
I just wanted to know how you felt and if you wanted to say something, and I'm glad you did. I'm glad you said what you said because it's true. It's raw, and a movie like this, Pan's Labyrinth, I mean, there's ugly truths in it, but there's also some beautiful fantasies and escapisms in it,
hmm
like what Ophelia has gone through, but what was it that her to get there? And at the end of every story or every person's reality is that at the end of the day we have hope.
hmm definitely. I couldn't agree with you anymore. At the end of the day, it might be very dark, but there's always hope. There's always hope somewhere. You
Yeah,
always can
try.
keep on keep on finding that hope. You'll get there with like some
Yeah,
power. Oh, just keep on going. Try not to ever give up because it'll get good,
yeah,
get better.
yeah. If we can be good and we can be better and we can make a difference by just saying hello and being kind,
hmm
recommend a good movie, or just say, hey, I thought of you to someone that or just smiling at a stranger sometimes at a grocery store, but or complimenting someone.
Definitely,
It all
the small kindness will, it could change someone. It's something small.
yeah,
You could just offer, I don't know, anything. Just be happy. Spread joy to people, and they'll be happy too.
definitely. Well, I don't have too much else to add to this, do you?
um, I don't either.
No.
All I know is just I'm very proud of Guillermo. He's come such a far, like he's just come up from so far, just so far. I'm always astonished with what he does. I always try and keep myself up to date with what he does. I
Mhm.
know recently, I think he was in a video game, I believe.
Really?
I think he tried a video game.
That's
I think
cool.
he didn't voice in it though, but like his model was in it, and it was just amazing. Um,
Wow, that's cool. Well, I know he's done a new Frankenstein film, a new Frankenstein movie. So that's exciting. I hope it turns out good. Maybe we can see it and talk about that sometime.
definitely, I know because it's Guillermo del Toro. It's always gonna have some
Yeah,
interesting twist to it, and I know I'm gonna love it. He never disappoints. Never
yeah,
disappoints.
definitely. Yeah. No, you're right. He's definitely the mastermind. So he has so
Definitely. Whatever he comes out with his like in his brain, it's just pure, just creative genius. It's just amazing, and so it's awesome just to see what he cooks up because anything he makes, it's amazing. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. Even like even if it's like something not as whimsical, because I know our other cousin Lalo, he loves yeah he loves the Hellboy movies, and Guillermo he made some of the Hellboy movies, and it's like I keep telling him, hey, Guillermo made I think the first two Hellboys. It's amazing. It's on point. It's good. He's a good director. Everything is good, and he agrees with me on that. So, if he likes Guillermo, then it's real good. Because I'm not saying exactly.
Wrap up here. Do you thoughts
Mm, no, I think that's everything.
again and again and again.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I loved, talking about this movie. Definitely one of my favorites. My mom's favorite too. I loved it.
Me too. Me too. Well, yeah, I guess I'm gonna wrap it up here. And thank you all who decided to join tonight and watch and um, see my cousin and I. We appreciate you guys. So, and
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye bye.